What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Anthony. Thank you so much for tuning into another video. Let's talk about Morbius. Now, Morbius, the new Sony Marvel project, bringing a new character called Morbius into the MCU. It's starring Jared Leto as Morbius. Got Matt Smith in there too, playing the antagonist character. And I had to check this one out, man, because the reviews are kind of all over the place, right? Like, you look at Rotten Tomatoes right now, you got critic reviews sitting at 17%, and then you got audience ratings sitting at 69%. So I was like, shit, man, that's a massive difference between, and we've seen this before with other things, right? Like Star Wars and other stuff, where there's this big difference between, what critics and audience are saying. And it can go either way, right? Sometimes you see highly reviewed critic movies, and then you see, low audience score, like with Star Wars, and vice versa. So this is an example of critics saying this movie is shit, and then audience members, almost 70%, that's a pretty big majority saying, hey, this is pretty good. So I had to check it out for myself, man, because I wanted to see where I would fall on the spectrum. Now I wanted to see if the critics and what other people are saying, like, is it as bad as they say it is? And I'm going to, just to start off, I'm sure you saw the title of the movie, or I'm sorry, the title of the video, that this will be a non-spoiler review. So I'm not going to get into any spoilers in this video. I'm keeping it very surface level. But just right off the top, I didn't think the movie was like complete shit like a lot of people are saying. It's not super terrible. And I'll get into a little bit more of the reasons why, but it's definitely not good. I'll tell you that right now. It's not a good movie, but it's not like god awful. In fact, I actually like this movie more than I liked Venom Let There Be Carnage. I really did not like Venom Let There Be Carnage. And I honestly think that this movie is better. So that's why I'm shocked that the critic rating is as low as it is in comparison to that. Because I feel like this had a little bit more to offer than Venom Let There Be Carnage. So let's kind of like dig into like why I think that is. So right off the top, I feel like Morbius is a great example of like, great concept, and honestly a good story is there. But the thing I feel like messes it up the most is really just the editing. And honestly, this is a repeating issue that I'm having with Sony Marvel movies, is like they try to like rush the fuck out of these movies, man. Like the editing is so fast. Like even when the movie ends, you're like, oh, it's over. Like, damn, like I thought we'd get a little bit more. Like it just, boom, like it just cuts credits. You know what I'm saying? Like even like in that example, you're just like, damn, like man, it's ending already. But just in general, man, like these Sony movies have been way too fast paced, and they don't give you enough time to dwell. And I know, even when you watch the movie, you know that there's more to these scenes, right? Like you'll watch some scenes and be like, man, I feel like it went by so quick. And I'm sure there's more footage, but they just chopped it so up. They just chopped this shit up so much in the editing room that it has, put out this product. And real quick, so the runtime is 1 hour and 44 minutes. So that means fairly short, especially for like a Marvel project. And I feel like the Venom Let There Be Carnage is around that same like pace of or runtime. Super fast pace, right? Like super rush, and you can feel it, man. Like this movie is just bam, bam, bam. Like you go one thing to another thing to another thing. And this, to me, the sad part is, I honestly like the overall story of the movie. It was just because of the editing, poorly executed, and you don't get enough time to spend and build a relationship with these characters. Because you, in your mind, you understand like their motivations for doing things, right? Like you get it, right? But it's not enough to be a good experience, right? Like there's a lot of things you want to see on the screen and kind of like build that relationship. It's like, okay, I can see based off that little bit of scene that they gave me, I could see why so-and-so would do such and such. But like it doesn't feel good because I feel like I should have got more time to spend with these characters. And like, oh man, like I honestly think if there was a better editing job with this movie actually would have been decent. Because honestly, I really did like the story. Let's talk about some of the CG effects. I saw that sometimes too, talking about, the CG fest of this movie. And I feel like, Marvel movies get that a lot, right? And it's to some credit, it's true, especially like Venom Let There Be Carnage. That end fight was a, CG clusterfuck, and to me it was just stupid, but Morbius falls victim to that same issue. Final fight, CG fest, and you can't tell what the fuck's going on. I mean, here we are again, right? super like shaky cam, not clear like direction of the action. You can't tell what's going on. Now some of the CG is actually like pretty good. There are some moments in there with CG is I was like, damn, like this looks super cool. Like personally, I think like the echolocation effect that Jared Leto's character Michael Morbius can do. Like I thought that looked really cool. I like the way the airiness of the smoke effects like came about. I really like that. And some of their like facial transformations when they would, revert into the vampire, I thought it looked really good. There's times when it didn't look good, but there's times when it did look really good. I'm not sure if it was like and see, that's what's weird, right? You're like, it's probably just a budget issue. They didn't want to spend too much money because they definitely had the time to make it right. This movie was supposed to come out like a couple of years ago, so they had the time to go back and honestly make the CG look fucking insane. But I'm sure they didn't want to spend a lot. And I think I saw this budget was like 75 million, which is pretty low for like a Marvel project. So I guess they were like, hey, on this scene, it's only on screen for a couple seconds, like do shit CG, but we all notice it and it looks terrible. Oh, I also want to mention the like post-credit scenes because I was seeing that a lot too, the like how bad the post-credit scenes are, and people are right. It's definitely really bad to me, and I think I saw someone say this before. The post-credit scenes felt like they were part of the movie that were stripped out. Because you remember, you saw these reports, right, that people were saying, yo, you know how all those Spider-Man connections are in the trailers? Like that is not here, and that shit was accurate, man. Like none of that stuff is there. And instead has been pulled and kind of put in the post credits in a way, but it felt like it's supposed to be part of the movie, and I think that's part of the reason why the post credits feel as just dumb as it is. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't. I guess it doesn't make sense. No, not really. Actually, it doesn't make sense. Maybe when I do my spoiler review, we'll dive into it a little bit more. But yeah, I kind of agree with people that that the post credits is pretty bad on this one. I don't really know what Sony was thinking when they made this, especially because they had so much time to reconfigure this or edit it or whatever. And we saw some of those, some other directors and production crews like go back and with the extra pandemic time, like re-edit things, do more visual effects. So I don't know why Sony didn't do it here, and it's unfortunate that they didn't because they could have actually had something really special here. And it's cool, man. Like this movie has like some great elements to it. There's some great like horror elements to it, and to be honest, like in those moments when there's like those horror elements, like the movie is actually like pretty good. I feel like if they would have like played into that more, like we could have got a great movie. They would have made it even more like horrific. And speaking of like horrific, I'm sure people saw about like the whole PG-13 rating and how dumb some of the like fights that the vampires have with humans are, because it's not really like blood. There's not, it's like Venom, right? When things happen, it like cuts away to something else, which I also think is a detriment to this movie, because sometimes you need to see the bad stuff to really get that like impact of like, wow, this is an evil, this is an evil person, bro. Like we need to get rid of this dude. When it cuts away from stuff like that, it just kind of cheapens it a little bit, at least in my opinion. Unless the cutaway is like super well executed, like maybe it cuts away to like a portrait of something meaningful to the person's getting wrecked, and you just hear people getting wrecked in the background, or maybe their legs moving, whatever. They didn't even really do that. They just like instantly cut away to the next scene. But it's crazy, man. And another thing I saw was like people were saying that this feels like a 90s 2000s movie, and I definitely kind of saw it a little bit, especially with like the intro. Like the intro has that like I think back to like Spider-Man and like other movies how they have these super long intros with like visual effects, the camera swooping in through the webs and stuff. Like this movie has a slight, very short opening that's in that vein where the title Morbius comes up. And to me, that's a very like old style to do. There's even like weird transitions in this movie. Like there's one scene, the transition is the the unmasking from a circle where it's just, and I was like, man, that's a weird choice. Like, why did they randomly put that in there? Like I said, I think the editing was really what made this movie as not super terrible, but as bad as it is. It was the editing, man. They cut too much stuff out. They rushed it for some reason. They made it super fast paced, and they get enough time to spend to like build up to the pivotal moments. Because in terms of the story, there's some great pivotal moments story-wise that if we would have had more time to like see things and build up to those that would have been super impactful. And I think this would have gave us an overall better movie. Again, great concept and plot with this movie, just really bad execution. And literally, to me, it was all there. They just ruined it. And I was just like, man, you had all this time to reconfigure this and make it better, and you just let it sit on the shelf until you're gonna release it now. And like, this is what we got. Like, bro, it's wild to me, bro. It doesn't make no sense. Now, in regards to the performances, I thought they're actually really good. I liked Jared Leto as Morbius, and there's actually some really good character chemistry moments between him and Matt Smith's character that were felt really genuine and very like realistic. Where I was like, wow, man, these are some good moments. Like, we would have got more things like that. I think they would have added to the movie as well. And I wonder if there's more scenes that were like that just, got cut out, and now we got this. But there were some great moments. Matt Smith, dude, his performance was awesome, man. I actually liked him as the antagonist, and kind of the way he acts and things he does, like, makes a lot of sense. And it felt very like real and like realistic in some of the aspects, especially, given like the story and things like that. But his performance was great. Definitely kind of like stole all the scenes that he was in. Really great performance from him. Supporting characters were literally like worthless. Like, you see in the trailers, like, like Tyrese and the different detective characters, like, super pointless. Like, they're just there because, well, we gotta have police on the scene. Like, and that's pretty much it. Like, to me, there was literally nothing there in terms of supporting characters. And there's also some other things that happen in this movie. Like, especially towards the end, like, where they just don't expand on it and you expect them to expand on it, and the movie just ends. Weird shit like that too. All right, man, well, I don't want this video to be too long, but just overall, again, man, like, the movie is bad, but it's not like super terrible. I think it's at least worth watching one time, and I think you'll see what I mean, where like, there's something good there that just the editing job completely ruined this shit. And I feel like this, and I almost don't even want any more Sony movies, or just get someone else to edit these movies or something, because the Venom and then this one have been these like super short, like, cut up movies that are super rushed, get enough time to spend with the characters. It's like the movie that they were making was probably better served for like maybe a 2-hour, 2.5 hour runtime. And then they had to like chop it all up to make it as short and that digestible for casual audiences. Like, whatever. But I hope that they don't continue this trend with all the future projects that are coming out, because if that's the style they keep going for, these like super short, rushed, fast-paced movies, then I can already feel that I will not like any other Sony projects. I haven't liked the Venom movies. I haven't liked this one. So, and I don't even count the Spider-Man movies at this point, because Marvel has such a big hand in them that I feel like that they don't count as like true Sony projects like these ones do. But to me, it's not a good look for their future films. It doesn't really make me excited, man. But hey, Sony, man, you fucked it up, man. I like, Morbius could have been really good, and there's moments where the goodness shines through, and you're like, damn, like this moment right here in isolation is so good that if you would have just not cut out all these other different things and let the movie breathe a little bit, that it could have been like actually decent. But it's super unfortunate. But hey, that's my thoughts on it. Like, what did y'all think about Morbius? Did you think it was good, bad, just okay? Or do you share my same opinion that a lot of it's just down to the editing? Like, great concept, and probably a lot of it's still there, but this, Sony butchered it like they did with Venom, and Venom at the Recarnage, in my opinion. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, man, what y'all thought about Morbius, and if this movie has put you off in terms of excitement for future Sony projects that don't have that true hands-on from Marvel Studios. But if you watched it in the video, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I got more content coming throughout the week. And I'll see y'all in the next video, man. Peace.